Good day, everybody. Here we're going to be talking about making something that someone wants. What does that mean? Well, to put this presentation in context, we have to know what an organization is and does. And the second slide shows about what a model organization is. There are thousands of books that talk about how to make an organization good. What is a good organization? How to make an organization effective. I think there's 5 aspects. We're covering one in this presentation today, but it may give you perspective to show you all 5. In my opinion, a good organization, a model organization, has 5 aspects. They dream of the impossible. They dream of something that often can't be made, but then they achieve the possible. No matter what your dream is, it has to be fulfilled. So those are the first 2 aspects that I see in organizations today. Especially, it's so important in the world today where innovation and creativity really are the key to organizational success. So you have to have the dream of even something that may seem to be impossible. Can we deliver in this manner? Can we modify the look of our product? And all of those aspects are dreams. Can we come up with a new product even though ours is successful? Achieving the possible means that you actually make it work. I have the saying that that success as an individual is built on dreams and determinations. The dream of something better and the determination to make it sound better or to make it come true. It's the same with organizations. They dream of something that's possible. They achieve the possible. Third is, no matter what you achieve, somebody has to buy it. And we should never neglect the customer quality in certain aspects. So whatever you make, there has to be a market for it. You have to give people a reason to buy what you're selling. And that's the focus of today. The 4th and 5th aspect of a model organization is find superstars. Organizations are built and they're retained and they progress based on those singular individuals who have a tremendous idea or will. And those are the ones that propel organizations. And later in subsequent discussions, I'll try to convince you that while there is a belief that we need team spirit, important, that we need collaboration, important. But what we see is that those organizations that are the most successful have a singular focused individual or a small group of people who dream of these impossible types of products. And that's what's propelling organizations. And lastly, you have to pursue noble ambitions. Customers rarely want to do business with a company that they despise. Again, our focus is on that 3rd aspect of making something that somebody wants. And organizations today are much different than they were some years ago. So it may be a good idea, it may be meritorious to go over what an organization of today looks like. If we're going to be talking about organizations, we should have common understanding of what an organization looks like. So most are going to be surprised that 99% of all U.S. companies are small businesses. Most people think of General Motors or Google or Amazon, and those are behemoth of companies. But a majority, almost all, of organizations today are small business. What's a small business? It's a company with less than 500 employees. 99% of people that you're going to meet work at a company with less than 500 employees. In fact, 3 of 4 small businesses actually have no employees. They have no employees. 75% of all small businesses have no employees. As far as survival rates, 50% of small businesses survive for the first 5 years, and about 33% survive for more than 10 years. So their survival rates are not high. 80% of businesses, just businesses in general, not small businesses, 80% of businesses will last the first year, but then it drops to 66% after 2 years. And yes, 50%, same as small businesses. The average business, small or otherwise, is going to go out of business within 5 years. 50%. And again, 32% of businesses in general with employees will last more than 10 years. So there's a difference between small businesses. Most small businesses don't have employees, a wide percentage. But businesses in general, you're looking at only 1/3 of businesses created today that have employees are actually going to last 10 years. It's the same for a publicly traded firm, which is a large firm that lasts about 10 years as well. So now we have a perspective of what an organization is. And you heard me say nothing lasts. I have a saying that says, without a customer, you're without a company. If you have a company that makes products and services but no one buys it, you're not going to have a company. Products don't last. Customers are not loyal. Competitors follow the trend. And like, for instance, takeout and delivery is a trend that we're seeing today. And lastly, industries follow the money. So what does all that mean? Products don't last. If you have a Tide product, you better have new and improved next year, and new and better improved 2 years after that. It constantly has to be better. Customers are not loyal. We have seen that customers, the average person, won't continue to buy the product year after year, especially if something new comes along. Loyalty doesn't necessarily exist. That's similar to employees are not loyal. The average employee is in a firm about 4.2 years. It used to be 4.7 years just a couple years ago. And of course, employers cannot hire and retain employees over the longer term because the business constantly changes. We're leading into a very evolving world. Some would say even a revolutionary world where things change catastrophically, often at unknown occurrences. And lastly, about nothing lasts, is that industries follow the money and competitors follow the trend. So if we see a trend like takeout and delivery, if you're a restaurant, you almost have to have takeout or delivery today. If you don't, it's going to be very difficult for you to be in business. Industries follow the money, meaning that if they see a product or a service or a specific industry that is offering tremendous rewards to their employees, stockholders, stakeholders, whatever it may be, they're going to go into that business too because they, again, follow the money. So that leads us to the last aspect on this PowerPoint slide, which is that we must give customers a reason to do business with you. You have to give customers a reason. So what are some of the reasons that customers do business with someone? And there's basically 5. There's 5 reasons that a customer will be your customer. Let's go over them. First is price. That's an easy one. The lower the price, often, the more customers you have. Of course, that goes quite closely to quality. You can have a very low price and very low quality. And most people won't buy, even if the price is quite low, a product or service that doesn't have quality to it. So it's a bit of a mix. Are you going to charge more for your product and have a higher quality? Or are you going to have a customer? You can have the highest quality product, but no one will buy it because it's too expensive. So price is important. Walmart is the low price leader. They've sold their business model on being that low price leader. Costco is another one. Their margins, which means that the differential between what they pay for a product and what they sell a product, is quite low, so they have to sell a lot. They go by volume. So quality and price are intertwined with both Walmart and Costco, but they sell much more products at a lower differential, a lower profit than others. Target, for instance, charges a bit more, but they sell something more than low price. They're trying to sell a type of service. We'll talk about that in a bit. So price is one, quality is another. Apple has very high quality products. They charge more. A computer for Apple is significantly more. An Apple iPhone, significantly more. And they are able to charge more because it has more quality with it. It also has, as the third aspect says here, features. The features of an Apple are much more conducive to the customer than an Android. Android often has more power in other aspects, but the features of an Apple make it quite easy. A good example of features and how that you find a customer through the features that you offer is Subaru, which sells itself on a very safe vehicle. And that is their, in some ways, claim to fame. They have lowest rates of not necessarily accidents because you can't predict them, but injuries that result from accidents. The fourth aspect is what we call reputation or brand. They may charge higher for their product, but they're hoping that the reputation or brand is something that is going to allow them to sell their product at a premium. For instance, you can buy a diamond at Cartier and the same diamond at some other non-brand store, and it's much less at a non-brand store. You've heard that saying that says you pay for the name. That's a good example there. Rolls-Royce, even Cadillac, when you use those words, you're selling an image, a brand, and people will pay more to drive a Rolls-Royce, even though there may be other cars very similar to them if they don't have the name. You want to be able to say, I have a Rolls-Royce, as opposed to saying, I have a Bentley. Bentley's a very fine car, but it's just a notch below Rolls-Royce. And lastly is this catch-all, which is we just like them. We like doing business with them. Some would say it's customer service. I think that's true. Nordstrom's department stores is a store that has phenomenal customer service. And there's a great story at Nordstrom's where a customer wanted to bring back 4 tires and get a credit. And Nordstrom's actually accepted those products back, even though they never sold tires. And they did that so that their customer was happy. And also with we like them, they're friendly. They make us feel good. And some of those fall into what we call personal services. Your hairdresser, your barber, person who does your nails, your housekeeper, those people who you have a personal connection to. And their service may not be the best, and their price may not be the best, and maybe the quality isn't the best. But for some reason, you just like them. A corner bakery that you've been going to for years, and you've been getting your birthday cakes there for 5 and 10 and 15 years. There may be better tasting cakes somewhere else, but you'd have created a relationship with this person. So that's why we do business with someone. That's the reasons. And that brings us to somewhat the last slide. We have one more after this. But how do you make something that someone wants? How do you as an organization make something that somebody wants? And I believe there's 3. There's 3 aspects that you need to pay attention to. You have to assess the market, you have to adapt to the present, and you have to focus on what's next. So as an organization determines how can they make sure that they're making something that somebody wants. They have to assess the market. They have to create a product that is unique, like smartwatches just came out over the last couple of years as opposed to watches, and they have actually decimated the watch market. The sales of watches have plummeted except for smartwatches. And in response, some companies like Rolex and some of the others are trying to sell a market. They're trying to sell a brand. And so that's what's real important about how you're positioning your product in the market. If you can't sell your watch because it's being overrun by smartwatches, you have to figure out a different approach. You have to make it more unique. And that's what some of the other watches have done, made their products unique. So unique is one, interesting is another. Tesla is an interesting vehicle. There is a great awareness of the difference in related to Tesla to any other type of vehicle. So they made it interesting. Third is fun. You have to make your product somewhat fun. There's a product out now. It's like a towel. It's called a cooling towel. And it lowers temperatures 30 degrees. And it's great for people who live in the South, are in warmer climates. There's an onion tomato vegetable slicer that makes it really very easy to slice tomatoes and onions. That as well is a very fun type of product. And lastly, is it has to be useful. And if something is useful, people say, I could use that. That's something that I need. I didn't realize I needed that, but now that you've created it, I actually need it. For instance, there's a new, for those who want to learn how to play the piano, or have always wanted to play the piano, now you can buy this software that teaches you how to play on the piano much easier than having to go to a traditional coach. You can actually teach yourself at home. It's phenomenal. Second is adapting. You have to adapt to not just the future, but the present. And I came up with this model. It's called the model of survival. And it has 4 aspects. And it says, first you have to think it. And we talked about that earlier, about dreaming of something, dreaming of the impossible. So you have to think about it. You ask what if and can we? And after you think it, then of course you have to build it, which is very similar to what we're talking about in the second aspect about achieving the possible. But you have to build it. So now that you've built it, third aspect is you have to sell it. You have to sell it to somebody who wants to buy it, which is what we're talking about throughout this presentation. The last aspect is change it. As soon as you sell it, as soon as you've thought it, built it, sold it, you have to turn around and start changing it again. And here's the reason why. Let's say you've developed a new type of yogurt. Let's call it the Greek yogurt, which didn't exist some years ago. And if you were making regular non-Greek yogurt for years, and now all of a sudden a yogurt that comes out and it's Greek yogurt, and you're like, no, I'm going to keep making yogurt because I'm making a ton of money, or our market share is great. Well, several short years later, Greek yogurt has now dominated the market. And if you haven't adapted to the marketplace wanting Greek yogurt, as opposed to just regular yogurt, you would find yourself out of business. And lastly, you have to focus on what's next. Let go of what's happened in the past. If you have a product that is successful, it may not be successful in the future. It has to be newer, bigger, cheaper, faster, better, sleeker. You constantly have to take a product and look at it and what can I do to make it better? And that leads us to the very last thought, which is hope lies in what's next, despair lies in what's past. Always hope that something could be better, that everything could be made newer, fresher, faster, if only you commit the resources, the thought, and the action towards that. That is making something somebody wants. Look forward to our continued discussions on what makes organizations great, everybody, and enjoy the day.